What's up, guys? Welcome back to Let's Play Sengoku Basara! So it looks like the West is mostly under the control of the Devil King now. Ooh, and Masamune took out Kenshin, so that'll be good for later. We are gonna have a hard time with the islands, though, but we'll see. We may end up having to fight both Shimatsu and Zavi, but we'll see. So right now we're going up against Imagawa Yoshimoto. And he's pretty easy. He's one of the earlier stages, much like Hojo, that I recommend taking on early. There are some nasty traits about his map, though. Not quite to the extent that Hojo's map had, with all those freaking horn units, but yeah, it's not terrible. But obviously, as Nohime, we're mostly going to be skipping by most of the enemies and going for the command units and just kind of going straight for the boss. Because she's not really that great at fighting lots of enemies, so we'll take our time where we have to, but as per usual, I'm just going to be skipping by most of these enemies. So I'm using a new secondary attack for this, which I selected in the status screen there. It's really good. It's sort of like a melee grapple type move. It's her secondary. It allows her to actually get some good combos in. It's really good. I really like it. It actually adds a lot of style to her combat and allows her to actually kind of hold her own at close quarters. We may be doing a lot more combat than I thought in this map, but we'll see how things go. Yeah, as I said before, playing as her is kind of like playing a proper, third-person action game, or third-person shooter action game, kind of. Reminds me of playing Gungrave a little bit, but, yeah, her Basara attack is still really good. So, Yoshimoto was only seen in the anime in the very first episode, actually, and he was promptly killed by Nobunaga. And Nohime and Mori Ranmaru had a pivotal role in getting him cornered in the mountains there. And his dispatch was definitely a display of power for Nobunaga to get everyone's attention. He certainly got the attention of Masamune and the Takeda faction, definitely. And what had to have been at the time the greatest villain introduction ever in anime. My god. Of course, it was only topped by the introduction of Hideyoshi in Season 2. But we'll get to that when we get to that. That's when we get to Basara 2, of course. So I still have the other secondary that allows me to launch the enemies into the air. I'm keeping that for now. I may want to keep this this melee one and switch to a different one for later. I demonstrated the Gatling gun when we were up against Mori, and it's still freaking raining, even though we've changed maps now, annoyingly enough. But yeah, it won't be too much of a deal later on. We'll have to change that secondary attack to where we'll have something better to use. It's fun, but I really like this melee thing, and there's some other ones that are really nice. Nohime's gameplay may get really repetitive at first, and you have to be quick on your feet in order to get by without taking a lot of damage. But it's worth it when you actually get to develop her a little bit more. I still like these guns. They look almost like 40mm rotary grenade launchers, except they're with bullets instead. They look just absolutely ridiculous. But these are still not her ultimate weapons, if I'm correct. Yeah, I really got to be careful because I'm losing a lot of health now, which I desperately need for the boss. If I recall correctly, there was some kind of bad blood with Yoshimoto and Oda regarding, or maybe it was between Takeda Shingen, because apparently he was Takeda Shingen's brother-in-law because of some kind of arranged marriage or whatever that happened between them. It's not really established in the anime, but apparently I did some reading up, and apparently that's true. Apparently that was actual part of history, that they were brothers-in-laws, and apparently Yoshimoto went to war against Hojo or something after that, and a bunch of nasty stuff happened. Apparently he was killed when he and Ieyasu went to go fight Oda, and claimed that he had 40,000 troops. This is a claim. I don't know if this is historically accurate. Claimed he had 40,000 troops when he actually only had 25,000, and Oda saw through this bluff and just completely proceeded to wipe the floor with him. So that didn't really go out in his favor, unfortunately. And who can blame him? Now, of course, in the anime, he is not a warrior at all. He is a coward. He hides in his little cart, and he is running away from Masamune, who is coming at him viciously. The dragon is coming to seize his prey, and obviously Yukimura is having none of that, so they're trailing him at the time. But of course, in the game, Imagawa actually fights rather, and you know, he actually is kind of competent. You can't play as him until Basara 2 Heroes, apparently, but he is a recurring character like all the other Basara characters are. But you cannot play as him in this game, just like you can't play as, well, several of the characters, actually. I was kind of surprised at their decisions of who was playable and who wasn't. And most shockingly, I was surprised that you couldn't play as Mori or Motochika in this game. So as a result, I think I'm going to be playing as Mori and Motochika like the very first thing in Basara 2 when we get to that. Well, I take that back. It might be a different character I may play as first, if you guys know what I mean. I'll get to that when we get to that. But obviously I do want to play as Motochika right away, all things considered, because one of my favorite characters. Yoshimoto, not so much. I may not even play as him at all, unless you guys really want to see me play as him. Alright, so time for the boss battle, and the annoying thing about fighting him is he has a ton of soldiers in his little encampment here, so we kind of have to clear them out here. He's sort of set up base in this little river here, sort of, and it looks like a dry riverbed or some kind of hill, mountainous area, sort of, I don't know. But it's definitely in the bottom of a ditch of some kind. He's just kind of set up base here with all his guys and all his tents and whatnot. We're just kind of cleaning house. I think it's good to clear out most of the enemies before you focus on him, just because they will kill you if you're not careful. As I've demonstrated before, in Ultimate Difficulty, the random foot soldiers are very, very dangerous, especially the ones with the halberds and the long swords, or katanas, I should say. And I'm not sure what I need to actually refresh my knowledge on actual Japanese weaponry, but I guess these wouldn't be called halberds if they're made with if they're made in Japan. They'd be called something else. So I should probably look into that. But mainly I want to take out the command units and the guys with the horns that are spawning these guys in. And there's a few of them, so I want to make sure that they're all gone so no more enemies start spawning while I'm trying to deal with these things. Thankfully, Nohime just absolutely decimates archers, because they just, you know, guns beat bows, apparently, especially when this is, you know, Basara logic, you know, Capcom logic, and guns have infinite ammo and all kinds of ridiculousness. I mean, is it too late to mention that the same guy that directed this game directed Devil May Cry? Yeah. Well, I should say it's the creator of Devil May Cry, not the director. I think the director was Shinji Mikami. So, Shinji Mikami is more of a cinematic director than a gameplay programmer, so to speak, I guess you could say. But yeah, Imagawa is not all that hard. He does attack with his stupid fan thing. I think his element is electricity, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure. If he does any kind of specific attack, we'll definitely see. But I know he has an element. I'm not sure. Every character has an element. I'm just not sure what he is right off the top of my head. Yeah, he's not doing a good job of blocking this. We're pretty much just savaging him. That was like half his health gone already. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, huh? Yeah, he's pretty helpless. At least he does put up more of a fight than he did in the anime. Oh, I can't wait till we get to Oda's campaign. This is gonna be hysterical. Honestly, for specific reasons though, Oda is actually not that easy of a character to play as under certain circumstances. He can potentially be really hard. And I'll mention this again when it's relevant, but the blooper that I have from the first test take of Nobunaga's first level is absolutely hysterical. What a fail that was. Alright, so we beat him without too much effort. We got low on health there for a little while. That was cutting it close, but overall, not a challenge really for Nohime. Just dancing in the rain. She is quite attractive, I'll give her that, but hardly my favorite female character in the Basara series. We'll get to her when we get to Basara 3. Actually, hell, one of them we'll get to in Basara 2 Heroes. Alright, so unfortunately we've conquered most of the central area of the Warring States, and let's see who wins this one. Oh, that's interesting. Apparently Hojo took out Takeda. Who would have thought? Okay, and looks like Zavi took out Shimatsu there, so it looks like we're going to have to do another defensive battle here. We're under attack again! And Nohime is quite good at this level. In fact, during my test run, I used the Gatling gun as my as one of my secondaries, so I could have a defensive attack there. Looks like we unlocked a new weapon. It still doesn't have nearly as good stats as the one we have right now, but I guess we have to use it in order to get the ultimate one. So we might as well go ahead and use it now. We're going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage at first. I mean, we'll have better offense, but our defense will not be as good, which is kind of disappointing for this. These are some cool weapons. They look like little flintlock blunderbuss type weapons, but they're gold and shiny and really cool. And they set things on fire! Yeah, these guys are the real deal. These guys are really tough. But nothing we can't handle, especially with these new weapons. So yeah, as I said before, I kind of just stood in place with the Gatling gun and defended during my test run, but obviously I want to kind of go after a lot of the commanders there in the outskirts of the maps and really thin out their numbers that way. You just got to watch the gate, make sure that they don't funnel in there too much. I normally like to do one fight per video with this game because of how long it takes to get through a level, but with this one I figured I could squeeze this in and still keep it around 15 minutes. It's a good length for me. I think it was in Yukimura's campaign when I had the previous defensive battle like this. This is identical to it. It's the same map. It's the same enemies. It's sort of just an anonymous third-party faction that is attacking you. Although it would have been nice to have an actual, like, this army is moving on your location, defend it, which they do have in a lot of the conquest modes in the other games in this genre, like some of the Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors games, and the later games in the Basara series as well. To where your territories can actually be contested, and it has sort of like an RPG element to it. I think that's what the Empire's game mode is in the Dynasty Warriors Empire games, as far as I know. Oh, I think Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires is available on the Xbox One, and I need to pick that up actually, because you know I'm not a big fan of the Dynasty Warriors games, but I want to get into more games in this genre, and now that I have an Xbox One, that's definitely a game I can pick up. Unfortunately, I do not have a PS4 yet, so I can't get like the definitive edition of Samurai Warriors 4. But one day I will have a PS4. Also, Basara 4 Sumeragi is available on the PS4 as well. So I don't know if I want to hold off on the PS3 version, just wait to get that, or what do I want to do? I actually do not know if the PS4 is region locked. If you guys would care to enlighten me on that, please do. I will try to do my research and find out. But I gotta say, it's really convenient that the PS3 is not region locked, because otherwise I would not be able to play this game for you guys. And same goes for Basara 4. But yeah, I wish that Basara would have taken off more in America, and I still think that Basara 3 is a solid game, but it just it was not well received at all in America. And the anime was at its prime at that time, so releasing Basara 4 or its expansion in English would be, you know, a new entry in an irrelevant franchise that didn't do well in its prime. So quite a shame, but hopefully I have some dedicated fans out there that will latch on to my liking for this fandom and the franchise itself, as I've done with the other, you know, anime titles I've Let's Played on the channel, like with Zoids and whatnot. Speaking of, you know, fans and Basara, I do have I don't know if I mentioned this on the channel before, but I do have another Basara game that I picked up not too long ago. I mentioned it on the Facebook page, but Basara X-Cross, which is the fighting game made by Arc System Works, the same people that made Guilty Gear and BlazBlue. And it's quite good. It's basically Guilty Gear with Basara characters, but it's quite good. I actually got to play it a little bit against a friend of mine who is a Basara fan. And I quite enjoyed it. I don't think I'd be doing a Let's Play of that, but if anybody wants to see any gameplay of it, like a couple of one-off fights, just name some characters you'd like to see, and I'll try to demonstrate it. I'm terrible at fighting games, but if I can get somebody to play it with, I'd like to have a little let's play marathon of that game for sure. So we're almost done with this. We just got 15 seconds left, or less now. Yeah, this is what happens when you get careless. They all get ganged up on the one side there. So I have my Basara attack saved just for that occasion. I feel like they could definitely make that section harder if it just lasted longer, because the longer it goes on, the easier it gets for you to get overwhelmed. But for the most part, it's not too challenging. Even on ultimate difficulty, they don't increase the timer on it, it's just how difficult the enemies are. And our weapon leveled up significantly, so hopefully we'll be close to unlocking the ultimate weapon now for Nohime. If not, you know, this is good enough to finish the game with.